What's up, YouTube? So this video is going to be relatively quick. It's going to be about the KRISS Vector 10mm carbine. Originally, my intention for this video was to give you guys some first person, some run and gun stuff with the camera attached to either myself or to the top of the gun here. I took a pistol caliber carbine course recently, and that was the intention, to give you guys some footage of the reliability or lack thereof of the KRISS Vector carbine. I know there's some information out there on the old interweb about how good or how bad these things are. So I'll start with that. First and foremost, this is one of the guns that I think that old wives' tale about you need to run it, and the more rounds you put through it, the more reliable it will get, holds true. Because when I first got it, it was an absolute nightmare. So if you have one of these 10mm KRISS Vector carbines, you know it comes with these 15 round Glock mags here. I've got this little red sticker on this one. I'll get to that in a second as to why I have that on there. But if you have these, you probably have the same problem that I was having, and after doing some research on the internet, same problem I noticed a lot of people were having, where once you get down to the last 2 or 3 rounds, you were having failures to feed or just reliability issues. So once I'm looking around, of course, trying to find a free quick fix to that, one of the solutions that I came across was to pull the springs out of these things, flip them around 180 degrees and put it back in. So the spring, the top of the spring is at the same angle as the follower here. So theoretically, the idea is that if you put it back in after you've rotated it 100 degrees, instead of the spring being at this angle, it'll be at this kind of an angle and put more pressure on the tail of the round, allowing it to be stripped off the magazine much easier. I did that with this magazine. That's why it's marked in red, because I have some other magazines that I haven't done anything to. I just want to know which was which so I can get a comparison. And that did seem to mitigate some of the issues that I was having with failures to feed in this gun. At the time, I was probably about 200-300 rounds in. After about 400 or 500 rounds, the gun did begin to run better, both with these mags and the mags that I had done nothing to. And that's why I said that old wives' tale about the more you run a gun, it needs to be broken, kind of holds true to these KRISS Vectors, especially in this 10mm caliber. 10mm is inherently a dirty round, so you're gonna have some issues present themselves because the gun is just dirty because of the type of ammunition that we're running. So if you got a KRISS Vector in 10mm and you got these little 15 round mags, of course you probably look for other mags out there, and you have come across these fantastic things here. This is a Glock mag, 15 round mag with the KRISS Vector extension. And you can get these from KRISS Vector's website either as a kit or fully assembled. I went ahead and ponied up and bought one of these things fully assembled. If you got a 10mm KRISS Vector carbine, you know exactly how expensive these things are. I will say that it ran flawlessly. Now, all of this running I'm telling you guys about has been done at an indoor range, punching paper, getting zeros, just running the gun. Bought this, ran it about 4 or 5 times, no issues whatsoever. On that same range trip, not only was I running this, but I was running both this mag and the mags that I had not rotated the spring in. And again, the more I ran the gun, the more reliable it got. So fast forward, had the gun a little over 2 years now, and I've put well over 1,000 rounds through it, and I believe that its reliability has come up to par, to something that I would take out and run a class with. So I took this gun out to run a pistol caliber carbine class with the hopes that I would get some video footage for you guys, but I did not. Before I move on to the problem that I had, I'll talk about this one really quick too. If you have a KRISS Vector 10mm carbine and you want something longer than these 15 round mags, and you've been on their website and you've seen how ridiculously expensive these are, although they do work, if you do a little digging, you'll come across these right here. These are made by a company called SHK. See if I can get this in view of the camera here. Let me see. This would be the best I could do. Yeah, there it is. SHK mag. See that right there? These are about 20 bucks. 20 bucks and you get 30 rounds. Saw mixed reviews on these, but I was like, hey, it's only 20 bucks. It's worth it. So I bought one as part of another order that I had. Got them, and these things ran flawlessly. Much better than these actually, and I'll get to that when I get to talking about the range that I had. But this is why I really wanted to make this video, even though I didn't get any footage of the gun in action. So, get out to the range that day. Now I'm on an outdoor range. It's really windy that day. There's a lot of sand and stuff getting blown around. So those of you who had guns out in the wild, you know what kind of problems that has. But the week before I took my pistol caliber carbine course, there was a vehicle defensive course, a vehicle rifle course, and a guy was out there with his KRISS Vector carbine, and I'm not sure what caliber it was chambered in. I'm gonna wager that it was chambered in 9mm, possibly 45 ACP, but based on the size of the hole, I'm gonna say it was around 9mm. And he's running and gunning, running the thing hard, and it's running relatively well. I can't say that I saw him have any issues with it, but his faux shroud came completely off just like mine, and you can see the issues down here by my finger. So these little shrouds are just held on with a little tiny set screw right here. I had never taken mine off. I had never messed with it, nothing like that. I had no issues with it. It wasn't loose. I hadn't even thought to look to see if this screw was getting backed out or anything like that. So I'm at the range, and all I'm doing is confirming zero. I'm shooting at 25 yards from the prone on a bag, and the shroud came completely off. And this is the front of the shroud. Let me see if we can put this in. Yep, see that right there? This is the front of the shroud. This is the rear where it attaches to the barrel. There's a small little spot right here where that set screw locks in, right? So there's a piece missing here. I heard an odd sound, like a pop, and I actually think that the round was tumbling as it went down range because of the piece that came off. So I'm looking through the optic, and I see the round hit the paper, and then I see something else hit the paper, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. But the guy next to me said, hey, he said, yeah, I saw something go down range when you took that shot. The KRISS Vector that the guy was running in the vehicle defensive course a week before had the exact same issue. The biggest difference between his instance and my instance was he was shooting really fast, coming out of that car, and he didn't realize what had happened. So when his completely separated from the gun, it slid forward, and he actually put a round through the tip of it. Like I said, since I was shooting in the prone, it was a much more stable position. I immediately noticed and came off the gun and saw this right here. So this is why I thought this would be interesting to make a video to show you guys, because I'm sure that if it's happened to 2 KRISS Vectors within a week, that we are not the only ones that this has happened to. And I just want you guys to be aware that this might be something you run into if you're gonna run your guns hard. So I reached out to KRISS Vector, told them what happened, and they actually refunded me the cost of the one I had already purchased. So kudos to KRISS Vector's customer service. You guys can hear me fumbling around with it back here. I'll show you guys the difference. And this is the replacement part. This is the one that I'm going to replace with it. So here we have the rear. Put them side by side there so you can see that. You can see that this one, the new one's got the set screw, and the old one is completely missing the set screw. This is the front of them. So this is the one that was on there, and you can see it's completely missing this piece. We actually did go down range and look to see if we could see what had come off. We never found it, but this piece here, put that right there. This piece here is what's missing. I thought that was really interesting that I saw not only my KRISS Vector, but 2 KRISS Vectors have the exact same issue a week apart. And I had never seen anything on the internet about it when I was looking around at videos for the gun. So I thought that that was something that I should point out to you guys. If you have one of these, you know, take a second and go ahead and check that set screw that's on the bottom holding your faux shroud on. And if it's loose, pop it out, put a little Loctite on it. Before you take it out and run it hard, you might want to give it a tug, make sure it's on there really secure. Really quick, we'll talk about the reliability of this firearm. I will never trust my life with this gun. Not at all. I give it a C as far as reliability. Not a C plus or C minus, just a flat C. It's a 10 millimeter. It's a unique design. You know, it's not the typical AR, AK that most of us have. And I have it because it's first kind of cool. You know, it's something that adds some variety to the safe. I probably will never get another KRISS Vector because I don't see the point, but I do enjoy this one. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep running it because it's just a fun gun to have. After about 1,000, 1,500 rounds or so, like I said, I thought that the gun was reliable or showing me enough reliability to take it out and run it hard. But even after this, even after the shroud came off and it broke, I still ran the gun. And I got up to about 500-600 rounds before I started having my first issues. And those issues were mitigated with a good slap rack. And they got the gun right back up. Like I said, 10 millimeter is inherently dirty. It was the first time I had the gun out in the field. There was a lot of sand and stuff in the environment. And the gun just, after about 500 rounds, really didn't want to run as hard as it had been running all day. That was fine with me because 500 was where I planned on putting this gun up and switching to the other rifle I had brought out there with me. Let's talk about these here again for a second. So, as expensive as these are, so you know, I'm out at the range doing these drills, moving in and around barricades and stuff like that. When mags are empty, I'm just letting them fall free, reaching on my belt, slapping in a new one, getting the gun back up. After I got a little bit of sand in these super expensive KRISS Vector put together mags, trash. I had to like bang on them to get the spring and the follower to release once they got a little dirty. This little $20 cheap knockoff 30 round 10 millimeter thing right here, SMG Tactical. Let me put that in there for you guys so you can see that. Can we get a view of that? Yeah. SMG Tactical, right? These things right here never gave me an issue. Sand in them, dirty, 30 rounds fully loaded with a round in the chamber, putting the mag in on a closed bolt. I had no issues with these little $20 mags right here. I have two of these, super expensive. I think these things are like 60 bucks. I've got two of these. Okay, no big deal. You get 32 out of these, and they have a aesthetic value to them when they're in the gun, you know. But if you have a KRISS Vector 10 millimeter carbine, I will tell you, don't blow your wad on these right here. Just go ahead and get you some of these SMG Tactical mags for 20 bucks. I'm pretty sure I got these off cheaper than dirt or somewhere like that. So the gun does run. Again, I would never trust my life to it. I have it because it's a first person and kind of cool. It just adds some variety to the safe. Once I attach the new shroud, I'm going to run it again. I'll probably put another 500 or 600 rounds through it before I take it back out. I have another pistol caliber carbine class on my calendar in June, I believe. And I wasn't intending on taking this one. I was intending on taking two other pistol caliber carbines that I have, but I'll probably take this one and just run it through one or two drills so I can get some footage and maybe catch some malfunctions or stuff like that on camera to show you guys. Hopefully, at that point, this gun will be up into the 2,500, 3,000 round range. It may run flawlessly. I've been to this range that I'm going to before. I will say that it's not as sandy and the berms are much higher. So unless the wind is at our back, it's really not an issue versus the range I went to for the other pistol caliber carbine course. This though is just something, like I said, I wanted to point out to you guys. Excuse me. Even though I don't have any footage of the gun running and gunning, this was something I definitely wanted to make you guys aware of if you have KRISS Vector in any caliber with these faux shrouds on them. I guarantee that myself and the other gentleman that I saw with one are not an anomaly of two. So if you have KRISS Vectors with these faux shrouds on them, do yourself a favor, save yourself the headache and the hassle, and check the little set screw right there. All right, that's all I got, guys. Hopefully I get you some videos of the gun in action soon.